but that's a very special pleasure to welcome our friends from the Folkecenter. And I think everybody should know the Folkecenter, because the Folkecenter, which has many decades of experience, of course, is less involved in formal education and training, but you heard from many speakers already that the work that you've been doing has a special and a very long-term sustainable impact on renewable energy development around the world. Many people have visited the Folkecenter, spent weeks and months there, learned a lot there. And now we hear from you, looking forward to, I see Daniele and Daniele Pagani and Tonny Brink are there. The floor is yours.
So thank you for the invitation. And yeah, first of all, I would like to apologize from Jana. She couldn't make it today, but we will try to do our best to cover also her part. And it's nice to be in such an international community with having similar ideas, because we have been mentioned several times, but I also don't know how many of you know about Folkecenter. So I will just share my screen. Second. You should be able to see my screen now.
Yes, you just go to, if you can, I don't know what program that is, but presentation mode.
Yes, I don't think I can. Yeah, full screen. Yeah. So, well, this is Folkecenter for those of you that don't know it. And yeah, it's on the screen here. Yeah. And it has been established in 1983 by Preben Megard, who, by the way, turned 85 just on Friday. So he's our pioneer and expert in renewables, and many of you know him already. But what he did in establishing this center is that he created a place where we can match academia and industry. So we are a connection in between these two worlds. And we get a large variety of people, yeah, from any kind of education, from any kind of background, and from all over the world, which is also why we are so well known internationally. Our network in these 40 years has been incredible, and I will show you later a slide to give you an idea of how big this network is. But it's not only professors and students that we interact with. We have a lot of interaction also with the local community and with people who might have an interest in renewables, but they don't know much about it. So you can see in the last line of our slide, we used to have about 6,000 visitors every year just here in the center, just to learn about different renewable energy technologies. Then, of course, this year with Corona, numbers have been a little bit down, but still, this shows how much it's Folkecenter present, both at local and international community. And our goal is to promote sustainability and promote a society powered by 100% renewables. And we get there in different approaches. So one of the approaches that has been, well, let's say Folkecenter is always focused on education. And then there are different ways of educating people. And one of them is to provide events, conferences, webinars like this. And another is just to try to make them learn by doing and give them the tools to, to get further in their education, let's say. So for this reason, we have been developing biogas solutions, manuals actually, in which people could actually take them and start their own biogas plant. And this, of course, goes for the private user, but as well for small companies which might not have the needed knowledge, might not have the needed resources to go in this field. But once these manuals are available, then it is possible for companies to get in this aspect. And Tonny will talk more about that in the later slide. And then we have also focused a lot on biofuels, hydrogen, and then what we would call now with modern terms power to X, or meaning excess power management. And why so? Because we live in a, if we go back to the slide, you can see that we are in the northwest part of Denmark. And this area, if you look in the map, a little larger view, you'll see that it basically has no barriers from Greenland to us, meaning that wind can become very strong. And therefore, the excess power problem that it's now faced in some countries has been here since many years already. So we have to think on solutions on how to use this extra power. And one of the ways we do it, for example, is that we turn it into hot water, which might not seem very logic, but when you look at the amounts of hot water needed on a yearly base in Denmark, then it makes sense also economically. So it's also a way of start thinking a little outside the box and seeing things outside the books and see a little bit more how do we integrate different renewable solutions into our lives. And by far the most important training part of this has been related to wind. And yeah, Tonny,
and therefore we have been very popular in traveling the world and technology transferring Danish wind turbine technology by using our old design manuals, mostly on wind, but also on other types of renewable, like Daniel mentioned, biogas, and but especially on wind. These design manuals was taken from using the design standards and making them into a practical manual for small entrepreneurs to directly use. This way they could see their way into the wind industry. And by having these manuals, Denmark managed to get 25 manufacturers on board making wind turbines in the early 80s. And some of these factories are actually Vestas and Siemens today. So it has been quite successful, and therefore this program has all been very popular and very easy to travel the world with these manuals. And the manuals have taken us into a lot of work together with small and medium scale enterprises, because as soon as they caught interest from the manuals, today you'll probably use YouTube to get entrepreneurs to attract young entrepreneurs, but you need a little more than just a YouTube to be professional, and that's where the book came in together with the contact with the small entrepreneurs, and this way show them an easy way into wind, and by this collaboration you sort of carry them through becoming a professional industrial player and ending up in having a prototype that needs to be tested. Whether it's wind or on the pictures here, wave or photovoltaic or thermal, solar, all kinds of renewables, you come to a stage where you have a prototype and you need to convince people that you need money or you need other things to go live. And in order to do that, you need proper testing, and by having proper testing, you also need to renew your testing facilities, and by having an totally updated test center. In our case, unfortunately, only on small wind, but small wind is actually what attracts us, because it attracts newcomers that want to get on board in renewables. Nobody starts out as Vestas, and it's very, very difficult. You need a state program or something in order to finance to build a 10 or 12 megawatt wind turbine today. But many people can see their way into wind by entering small wind, and therefore we are still attracted to small wind, and so you should stay updated by following our small wind test site on smallwind.dk or smallwind.eu. So then,
and another part of building knowledge is to share it. So now we are in a webinar form, but we are quite famous also for organizing physical conferences, which are not simple conferences that you have in a usual hotel, as we all have attended. It's a different setup. We have, of course, the theoretical part, but we have also a lot of field trips. So we see these installations, we see how do they work, because we are lucky enough to have most of the renewable energy technologies at about 1 hour from the center. So we can see them in operation and we can hear from the operators what are the good things, what are the bad things, what should be done better, and so forth. And then we also produce some some material that's more addressed to the general public. And here you can see some of our works. In the catalog of small wind turbines is actually a way for people to see what is the small wind industry looking like. Because as Tonny said, we are looking at big wind, that's good, but we shouldn't forget that there is also small wind, and that many of the small companies, private consumers will be interested in those solutions because they are more fitting their investment capabilities and their interest. So we have been compiling this catalog for several years now, and we are currently working on the latest edition. And in there you can see from all over the world the manufacturers. Then you can compare them and see what's easiest and more suitable for the needs of a person. But if there is something that has really changed people's lives, I would say, it's the training program. And here you can see some pictures of the activities. And the lucky thing that we have is that besides the technical knowledge, we have also a setup which is, as you have seen from the previous slides, we are in the middle of the countryside, meaning that people that come here, they are also living here. And that increases socialization, and that increases also the possibility of interact and be transversal with different technologies. And then this teamwork gets spicy up by the installations that we have, because trainees are welcome to play on these installations and make studies on that. And actually we have several of the trainee reports which are focused on, for example, on indoor climates of the passive house, or on how to build sustainable, or how to make something related to wind and so on. And this, when we look at on the single trainee, maybe it's not changing much. But when we look at the overall impact of this, now we can see in the picture, the bottom left picture here, we have Ibrahim, who has just talked, and he has also been a trainee in Folkecenter. And now he has founded Mali Folkecenter. So the impact that his period here has been really impressive. And so to talk, also Jose has been very close to us. And then we have here holding a PV panel that's Aung from Myanmar. He came here, he didn't know much about solar panels, and now he's taking a PhD on rural electrification in Myanmar. So this interaction allows for people to discover more their interest and to interact with other people as well, because as I was mentioning before, if we just look at the last 5 years where I've been in Folkecenter, these are the green countries are those that have been sending trainees in this period. And in this time also the number of Folkecenters started to grow. So we can see that this network is keeping on building up, and that's a very good signal. And something that we have learned now is that people are curious and they sometimes don't know what they want to learn about. Because if we take some people from Africa, they generally want to learn about solar. But then they realize that maybe in their area there is also good wind possibilities. And maybe it's easier for them to access wind. So they suddenly start to investigate and to get into that sector, for example. And then on the downside, what we have learned is also that it's getting harder and harder to travel. And it might seem difficult to say, but that's our experience. The trainees that came in the old days, let's say, they would stay up to 1 year. Now that's not possible anymore. Now all the trainees that are coming outside Europe, they have basically the tourist visa. So 3 months, no more. And it's not only the time that they can be here, which is limited, it's also how hard it is to get them here. We had a trainee from Pakistan, which we had to wait 1 year and a half to get him on board. And that you can imagine that that's a really big problem. So to get back to the World Wind Energy Institute, which we are also part of, It's great that this collaboration keeps on going. It's great that we start a talk on that. But we should also look what didn't go in the previous edition. Why is the World Wind Energy Institute not running in this moment? And one of the issues is the visa problem that has been already at that time, and it became harder and harder. So some of the previous speakers mentioned about the importance of involving policymakers. And I fully agree, because the visa issue is something that we can cover with that. Otherwise, we have been active in Africa. We have these 3 projects that are running in which we are distance helpers. So we go there for some meetings, but we don't have much more interaction than that. And the problem is that for some courses, like the sun generator or the LED technology that we have developing this knowledge, we need people to be here, or we need to be there as well. That's also an option, but that's more complicated to realize usually. So the concept for us is that we should train the trainer, and then, for example, if we take the LED course, we can have one person coming here, and then this person can run several workshops and teach people how to build these devices, which are not so complicated to build. So at the end, the impact can be very, very high for just one person being sent here. And therefore, we were ready for that, and we planned 2 courses which were supposed to be taken place in March. But then, due to COVID, then all this got cancelled, of course, and it just not got cancelled for this year. Chances are that it got cancelled for the next couple of years, because we don't know what travel restrictions are, and we know that it will take a lot of time for the visas. So we are kind of in a standby with this. What we have been doing so far, it's going a little bit more local, and we just run a workshop on how to build a tiny house with sustainable materials, and we got a very good participation. That shows that also a lot of people is interested in this, also people who are not working in the renewable energy field. And what we are planning now for February is to have a workshop on how to build a small wind turbine, to get people started and to see if this can take further. And if some of you is interested, we will have our 4th international conference on small and wind energy, which will be taking place at the end of November. And we wanted to have it physical, but it will be online for sure, and physical will depend on the current situation. Anyway, this was all what we wanted to share with you. We would like to thank you for the attention, and you can find the contacts in the slide.
Yeah, thanks so much to Daniele and Tonny. That was great, and I think what makes the Folkecenter indeed special and different from others is you mentioned the social and cultural aspects which are covered, and that's, I think, how you, by being a meeting point for people from around the world, you manage to bring these people, and that they bring it back, and not just one way, but they can, like Ibrahim, I think you can confirm that you learned something that you then applied in your own environment. Yeah, thank you so much.